Hey everyone, my name's Ben Bolger and welcome to the Expat Blueprint, the channel dedicated to educating expats to financial freedom. So welcome to episode 9. And today we're going to continue on the previous week's themes of giving a very broad overview of each stage of the financial planning pyramid. Today we've moved up to layer number 4, which is retirement planning. Now retirement planning is such a big part of financial planning. There are literally so many elements to it that when I was sitting down to plan for today's episode, I was like, where the hell do I start? And after pages full of notes and screwed up pieces of paper, I thought, sod it. I'm just going to answer the question I get asked the most about retirement planning, which is, do I need a pension now I'm an expat? And if so, how do I get one? A pension is essentially a savings platform that allows us, our employers, and sometimes governments to make contributions towards our future years. Without making this provision and being diligent about saving for the future, our retirement or financial independence years could be really difficult. So did you know that even though Michael Jackson sold more than 61 million records worldwide and accrued a staggering 134 million from the album Thriller alone, MJ died with a whopping 400 million in personal debt? It's probably because of stories like this and many other celebrities and sports stars running out of money were advised to think about our future and are told from an early age to pay into something called a pension. Pensions are one of those adult things that we put in place as a way to save for our golden years later on in life. You, and in most cases your company, essentially put money into a savings pot every month with the objective of providing you with an income source once you're retired. However, this is all well and good if you're still living in your home country, or if you have the ability to set up a workplace scheme. But as expats, this is typically not the case. By becoming an expat, we're essentially out on our own, which therefore leaves us with two options. Bury our head in the sand and pray something will magically happen for us later on in life, or become proactive and make our own provision. Let's familiarise ourselves with the different types of pensions that we might currently have already, and then we'll move on to what we need to be doing now, because the chances are we're not able to contribute to any of our existing pensions. Now, I'd like to add in a little disclaimer here. As you can probably appreciate, there'll be expats from a lot of different countries who might watch or listen to this episode. It would be impossible for me to address the retirement planning situations in every single country. So I'm going to speak generically and likely with a bias towards the UK system, because obviously being British is what I know best. However, with that being said, you'll find that a lot of the information will be relevant in most countries and it will just be called something else or governed slightly different. The chances are the components are all very similar. Okay, so now that's clear, let's move on. So stereotypically, there are 3 types of pensions we're used to. Number 1 is a state pension. This is funded through our social security payments that are deducted from our monthly salary. In the UK, for example, this is our national insurance contributions. Typically, you have to contribute for a minimum number of years to receive a full state pension. For example, in the UK, it's 35 years. And then you're entitled to a relatively small income dictated by the government. The full state pension in the UK will provide you with roughly around about £175 a week. Whilst this doesn't seem a lot, it actually forms the basis of the majority of the population's income in retirement. The second type of pension we're used to is a workplace pension. This is a scheme that you have an option to join when you start employment at a new company. Some countries like the UK have legislation in place that you're automatically enrolled into a company scheme and then automatically start contributing unless you decide to opt out. Your employer and the government might also make contributions to this pot, as it's an incentive to keep contributing. This initiative is often set up to tackle the growing amount of people who are reaching retirement age with nowhere near enough to fund their future years. Typically, workplace pensions come in 2 forms. A defined benefit scheme is managed exclusively by your employer, and it will provide you with a defined income at a defined retirement age. The amount of income that you receive will depend on the number of years service that you have with the company, your final or average salary, and that will depend on the scheme rules, and then an accrual rate, which is the proportion of your earnings you'll get as a pension for each year you're in the scheme. And it's normally expressed as a fraction, for example 1/60th or 1/80th. There are very few of these pensions being given to new starters at companies because they're a lot more expensive to run and a lot more responsibility for the employer. A defined contribution scheme is where you, as the employee, have much more responsibility. In the simplest terms, it's a pot of money managed by a pension or insurance company where both you and your employer put money into each month, and that money is then invested into different types of funds. You as an employee can choose which funds that you want to invest in, but more often than not, people just select a predefined option based on how much risk they're comfortable with. Low risk, medium risk, high risk. Finally, the last pension that we might be familiar with is a personal pension. They work in very similar way to a defined contribution workplace pension, however you just miss out on the employer's contributions. You do, however, have the benefit to choose your pension provider and therefore source lower cost products or investments that are more suitable to you. Okay, so what are my options now I'm an expat? Whilst it's unlikely we're going to be able to continue contributing to a pension in the traditional sense, there are still things we can be doing to ensure we're preparing properly for when we choose to retire. Number one is making voluntary contributions to state pensions. Even though we're working away from home, it could still be possible that we're able to contribute to the state pension scheme. If you have intentions of going back to your home country, then it might be sensible to consider making voluntary contributions to the scheme. These contributions are likely to be quite small payments, but will keep adding to your record of contributions. Remember, in the UK, you need 35 years of contributions for the full state pension. Depending on each country, you might have the ability to pay back a number of years to help you make up for any missed payments that you might have missed while being abroad. Number two is your employer schemes. I've come across a small number of clients who work for international companies and have access to a group savings scheme. I would only suggest contributing to these if your employer is going to match your contributions or at least contribute in any way. There are no investments in the world that will be able to double your money every month, and therefore you should not turn down the opportunity for free cash from your employer. However, I would urge on the side of caution, as many companies have over recent years fallen into financial trouble and the employer savings schemes, more pensions, have been affected with them. Number three, and most common, is make your own provision. Look to make your own provision by opening up a low-cost savings platform that you can contribute a percentage of a monthly salary to. I would suggest at least 10 to 15% each month. And if you're in a country that you don't pay tax, such as the UAE, I'd push yourself a little more. Set up the payments to go automatically out of your account every month into a diverse portfolio of index funds. At the end of the day, a defined contribution pension is ultimately a savings plan anyway. The only difference is you receive income tax relief when contributing to your pension in your home country. Don't be afraid of investing your money. You were already doing it when you were contributing to your pension scheme at home. Those funds taken from your paycheck weren't placed in a bank account every month. It was invested to grow your money for the future. I'll obviously be building on this and showing you how to do this in the upcoming episodes. But if you're keen to know how to get started, reach out and I'll be happy to help. Don't let the fact that you don't have the ability to set up a pension be an excuse for why you aren't contributing to your future. According to the Telegraph, the average amount people have in pensions in the UK is £61,897. This is the equivalent of 2 to 4 years worth of income in retirement max. That's ridiculous, seeing that you might survive 30 to 40 years after retirement. And it's not just a UK problem, the same is true for the majority of countries. People just don't prepare enough, and then are forced to rely on government pension schemes, which, as I mentioned, in the UK is about £175 a week. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like it would go very far in today's world. And not forgetting the fact I'll probably have to wait till I'm about 70 until I can actually receive it. We have an opportunity as expats to get ahead and put ourselves in a position where we're not reliant on the government or family. We just need to get organised and make the most of it. Stick with me on this journey to find out the most efficient way of building retirement savings. But for now, if you did enjoy this week's episode, we would love you to leave a review and also share it amongst your expat friends and colleagues. Get your expat friends on this journey with you. The more people we can lead to financial freedom, the better. I look forward to seeing you all next week, and remember to always dream big.